All right, everybody. Episode 66. Hold on. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Evening Hour Live. Let's do it. Come on in. All right, folks. I'm thirsty. Way more needed. Okay. Oh my goodness. I'm literally multitasking as I'm doing this show. I'm like hitting buttons, hitting controls, getting messages for things, and trying to it's been a crazy day, folks. What's up? My name is Cardone, and this is Evening Hour, episode 66. I can't wait for episode 666 proper. Wow, it'll happen. Probably faster than everybody would imagine. Great group in here already. Fast. Wow. Okay, we got Amanda, Lilith, Corey, Dan, William, Sharky, my mama, Peter Benedetti, Cassandra. Everybody's in the house. Come on in. Let's go. Wow. Okay. So today's been wild. Before I get into some things in the episode tonight, let me have a drink of water. Cheers. Now, if you're new to this channel, which I think we have a few new people in here now, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. I'm creeping up there. It's moving. Trying to get to 1,000. And it's the best thing you can do. Liking the show and subscribing to the channel. Great. As for donations go, my gosh, this show is happening because of my donors. They've paid for my equipment, my cameras, and everything. So from the bottom of my heart, I thank you. Yeah, Amanda, thank you. I got a couple really killer donations in the last day. Wow, this is amazing. Thank you, everybody. This is great. William, thank you. All of those tips, thank you, William. It's amazing. Great. All of those tips go into my show, folks. This is my full-time job now. This and doing my regular shows, but this is part of my life, and I like it. So cheers. Thank you. I have a reason to do it. I've got an audience. There's an old saying, actors and performers, all you need is the audience. You don't need a director. You don't need a set designer. You need an actor, needs an audience. That's it. And I got one, and thank you. My Evil Knievel cup. Yes. This came from some Clownvis uses one too. I love this cup. This is what I drink on the show. So, for the people that sent this to me that watch the show, grazie. Helen, I believe you're the one that sent this. Helen and the Clownvis crew. What else before I get into nitty gritty? Yes, if you're wondering what this point thing is that happens, you put exclamation point and then the word points. You have points. People gamble them in the chat. There's a game you can play. All of the rules are in the description, so check it out. It is an interactive show, meaning chat with me. I'm here. If you ask questions, I'll answer them, okay? And other than that, let's get into my day here. Okay, some info. I'm going to throw this out there. I woke up today to, and some of you know this. I talked about it a few weeks ago. I had an online hater that was basically sending me emails and sending other people emails and making public posts anonymously, character defamation stuff. And then today, somebody I know made a post, an alleged allegation of baloney, and I can't say anything about it. There's a lawyer working on it. That's all I can say. So The untrue allegations were untrue. And that's it. That's all I'm going to say. People have been asking me about it, and that's it. It's getting taken care of. So on that note, yeah, thanks for the support, everybody. I got lots of great support today and help from a lot of people. So thank you. It means a lot to me. My friends and family are awesome. What else? Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, that's just comes with the turf. Is what it seems, William. I mean, anybody that puts themselves out there and does things how they want, people pick on them. It's a fact. Yeah, it sucks, but I'm all about amor fati, which is bring it on. I can handle it, you know. It's fine. It's all part of life. I will deal with it as it comes in, and that's fine. It's not a big deal for me right now. I want to mention thank you to everybody for watching on Monday, because I had Throdini in the house, and he had a blast, and I'll probably bring him on again, another show. He's a very good friend of mine. He is the living embodiment of a living legend. Yeah. When we're all dead and gone, Throdini will be clearly remembered as an act that no one will forget. He'll get written in those books. Yeah. I'm just honored to have such wonderful friends. I mean, really, if I have to think back at my life and my career and things that I've done, I've met the greatest, most talented, hardworking people in variety show business. And I got to not only hang out with them and not only perform with lots of them, I got to make good friends with them. And yeah, I think he has 44 world records. Now, his story of inspiration is he didn't start his showbiz career until he was 50. I'm speechless. It's a beautiful thing. So, cheers to Throdini. Keep it rolling, brother. I think he's 74 right now. His 70th birthday seemed like it was very... It seemed like yesterday. So, that was an amazing birthday. I should tell you that story one day. I mean, I'll tell it quick before we get started. He, yeah, 44. He corrected me on the show. Throdini's birthday was on like a yacht. There was like a boat rented with catering. And, you know, a lot of his friends are showbiz people. And a lot of them aren't. Just because he's had a career out of that show business. And so I was at the banquet table of magicians. And all the magicians, there was like 8 of us. Every magician at that table at one time or another was a professional working magician. Full time. It was all the full timers. And there was one guy who was not a magician, who was like, hi, nice to meet you. Hi, nice to meet you. You know, we were just saying, all the magicians knew each other. We all known each other for years. And, oh, you saw me do a show with Throdini. Yeah. I love doing shows with him. He really is a good guy. And so the guy at the table who wasn't a magician was like, to me, like, oh, hi, what do you do? What's your job? What do you do? And I was like, oh, I do magic. I'm a magician. And then he asked the guy beside him, and he was like, I'm a magician also. And then he was like, wait, is this the magic guy table? And we were all like, yeah. And he's like, well, what about that table? And I was like, well, that's the contortionists, and those are the stand-up comics. And it was really funny. And so his birthday was us roasting him. It was like a roast with a meal and, you know, some fun. So, good times, good stories. Uh-oh, Peter, you're getting some points. So, yeah, if you're new and you're watching the chat, you're going to see people playing games. The directions are in the description. If anybody says any bad words, Zalthon will be the guy that deletes your bad words. I do have a robot moderator. His name's Zalthon, and he is a tyrant. Sometimes he's very unfriendly. So if you say something, he might jump in there. What else? Yeah. So today was a beach day. I surfed today. I actually got to ride waves. It was really nice. It was a little crowded, but the waves were like nice. They were bigger and they had perfect shape. They were a little hard to get into, but they were good. The rides were, And it made me think that during the summer, how am I going to do this show? Because I'm going to want to be, I literally don't put shoes or shirts on for days, unless I have like a formal show. And I might do the shows in beach mode, and I might even do these live shows on the beach for some of them. I can live stream with my remotely. So that might happen too, which would be very interesting. I have to start working on how that's going to happen. But I would love to do this show live. Yeah. So, yeah, Amanda has seen Throdini a bunch because she spends time at Coney Island, where a lot of us spend time performing. And his show is, if you ever get a chance to see the great Throdini in performance, you can't miss it. You will never forget it. It's the most simple and brilliant little act. Well, it's not a little act. Sometimes it's quite elaborate. So my subject tonight, I didn't know what to call it. So I decided to call it Subconscious Summer Fun. Because I am going to be thinking about this subject for the rest of my life. And I think this summer I'm going to do a little bit more work on it. I'm going to dig a little deeper. I know you've seen my show. I've done a lot of shows at Coney. I've done a lot of little... I mean, I've never was in their main cast in-house, which is the grind show. The grind show meaning they start the show at noon and run it till late at night, and it never stops. It just loops. I've never done that, but I've done a lot of Coney Island outside shows, meaning other venues away as the Coney Island sideshow. And I've also done lots of one-off shows and special events for Coney Island, USA. Like the strongman shows with the milk can and all that stuff. Eventually, I'll do a show on my milk can escape. I'm actually going to write that down. I might do that sooner than later. My milk can escape kind of changed my life for good and bad, which I'd like to talk about. Let me write this down. Yeah, I'm going to write down milk can. So, let's get into the show. My gosh. I want to talk about the relationship between the subconscious and the conscious mind. I've discovered some facts that are quite baffling. Some of them tie into some of the Stoic notions I've been jumping on. And so, our brain, from what I've read, has 1 billion neurons. And those billion neurons do 10,000 synapses per cell. And each synapse is like a data point, right? So just think, 1 billion. And there's 1 trillion bits per second flying through. That's our brain. And I was trying to figure out like what it would be, like how much info, according to a computer, our brains can do and hold. And what I gathered from my internet search was 1,000 terabytes of information right here. That is 100 times bigger than the Library of the U.S. Congress, the Library of Congress. That's what's going on here. I would love to do that. Dan, Throdini, Cardone, and Clownvis. Yeah, I'm into that. So think about how much is going on in your brain right now. There's so much information flying around in our brains that I don't think we truly understand. I like the analogy of $100 bills flat stacked to make 1 million is like, a big stack. $1 trillion is $100 bills flat stacked for 60 miles. That's why when you hear, oh, we're $1 trillion in deficit, we didn't evolve to understand numbers like 1 trillion. So when I say there's 1 billion neurons and there's 1 trillion bits per second flying through your mind, I don't think we can understand that number really. It's kind of crazy. And it made me think of some weird things, which we'll talk about later. Now, here is, I just yawned. Here's the real trippy. This is where it gets nuts. You've got your conscious brain, and then you have your subconscious brain. The conscious brain is the one that is awake, and you can think about things and make suggestions, and you're doing something with this conscious mind. Our language is based in our conscious brain. The subconscious is all the stuff you don't know the brain's doing. It is running the show. It's keeping your heart going. It does lots of things. So here's the percentages of conscious and subconscious. I hope you're wearing diapers because you're going to crap your pants when you hear this. 95% of your brain is running on the subconscious level. 5% is conscious. Wow. What? Subconscious is not... It's not something you can tool necessarily easily. The subconscious every day takes in about 2 million bits of data daily. All day. We're basically chemical computer data processors. I hate to say it. And it would seem that those trillion bits per second working are also convincing ourselves that we're not chemical robots that are data processing. We don't like to know that. That doesn't help. That just those numbers alone kind of blow my mind. It also explains a lot of nonsense that we have to deal with, right? So, I mean, when I sit and think about that, I'm just like kind of shocked. So what does this mean now? Okay, so I basically just said 95% of what you do, you're not in charge of anymore. Your subconscious is running it. If you have a healthy subconscious mind, that's good. If you have a bad and damaged subconscious and it's running 95% of your stuff, that's not good. And your subconscious, they know, can cause physical things to happen. So if something's worrying you or if you're stressed out, it can have a physical side effect, clearly. Not only that, like, I remember at one point in my life, 10, 15 years ago, I was having some serious stress about personal stuff in my life. And my hair started to fall out. So I went to the doctors and was like, yo, do I need Propecia? It was like coming out fast. And he was like, I don't know, maybe you're going bald. He did suggest that it was stress. After the stress, went away. I'm almost 50. It's thinned out, but it didn't fall out. I'm lucky. So, yeah. I can see how any darkness in here will cause a physical side effect. I clearly see it. I felt it. I know it. We all know this. If you're living in a dark hole, you are going to have physical side effects. It's going to affect you, right? Now, here's what's really weird. Our subconscious doesn't really answer questions. The conscious mind is the rational part that asks questions. The subconscious doesn't. You know, this is really weird. Now, here's something really interesting. They did an experiment where they had people play the piano, and then they had people do where they pretended like they were playing the piano and imagining they were doing it. And then they hooked up a brain monitor, and they looked at what was going on in the mind. One of the things they realized is the data coming in, they didn't know. The subconscious can't tell the difference between the real one and the fake one. What does that mean? Well, I think there's some applications to that. Our fear and anxiety come from that subconscious part. And our rational is the one coming from, oh my God, I keep yawning today. I think it's because I was in the sun and I surfed all day. I feel very yawny. Now, here's what blew my mind. That notion of not being able to know the difference between the two made me think about early childhood. little kids, they are not as good at telling reality from fantasy. And there's an answer. It's because they're using their subconscious to run their show. From what I read, kids don't start really learning how to use the conscious part of their brain until they're about 9 or 10. So for that first chunk of their life, it really is this mechanical process. And that's why kids kind of run wild for a while. They're just on autopilot, doing and behaving. And they need to be roped back a bit or trained or educated in how to like deal with certain things. And it blew my mind when I realized this. I was like, wow, maybe that explains why little kids can't tell the difference between reality and fantasy sometimes. Yeah, really interesting. Uh-oh, Peter, did you win? Oh, Peter just won 200 points. Congrats. Now, here's something really fascinating too. So it can't tell the difference. Oh, the subconscious clearly is the basal ganglia, the reptile brain. That's definitely there. That's the FFF, the fight, F, flee. Those three. And you don't get to control that. That's just it just happens. You know, something happens in your life. Maybe somebody's doing something aggressive. You react. You either fight, flee, or you want to breed. And it's auto. You can't necessarily control it. Now, how do you control it? How do you learn how to not do that? Well, they figured out affirmation eventually reinforces an idea that becomes part of the subconscious. Daily affirmation, repetitive affirmation, brainwashing of sorts, you can alter that subconscious. And we'll get to my thoughts on all of this in a second, because that's where I'm going to really start to dig. I'm just throwing out the ideas, and then we'll start to chew them up a bit. Another thing I read is this thing that I never could understand, and I found out what it's called. It's called chunking. Chunking is how we group things in our brain. Now, I always thought, and if you go back and watch, I forget what episode, but I did a Behind the Devil's Curtain called Dream Warriors about sleeping. And I always thought that when you go to bed at night, your subconscious is flying around doing its thing. And it's taking that trillion bits of data that you picked up all day, or billion, I should say. Still a giant number. And it's organizing it. You don't get to organize. You're not going, all right, I'm going to put that thought in that shoebox over here. Cool. Got it. Today I learned a story about Seneca and how he hates his barber, and he told him, I'm going to put that over. Got it. You don't do that. Your brain just does it. And so to do that, it groups things together in a very bizarre manner. Sometimes kind of surreal. And we interpret it as a prophecy of sorts. But a lot of the times, it's just how it's organizing. And they're called chunking. Now, chunking is, one person described it as, you know when you're typing in a box, a Google, a text, and it starts guessing what you're going to write, and it knows where you're going, and it starts guessing, and then you can click on it? We do that. Our brain does that. It's like the subconscious lets us know what we're going to think before we do it. Kind of like free will. I found that thing where it explained how red M&M, green M&M, hey, I have a free choice. No, you don't. What do you mean? I could pick a red one right now if I want to. Or I could pick a green. Maybe I'll pick green today. Maybe I'll pick red. Actually, what happens is your brain is like, you're picking red, dude, but I'm going to make you think you have a choice for a while, and you can sit there and play with it. It's actually red. They've seen this. And so this chunking, how we group things, kind of is part of that. I don't understand the mechanic of it exactly, but we group things together for access purposes. And it lets us know when we start to think of things, it knows these certain set of things to choose from. It's very weird. I mean, literally, our brains work like very complicated computers on a very complex scale. And I'm going to talk about that because to me, it means something. And what it means... okay, I'm going to actually just start getting into it because this is the real meat of the show. I want to go back to the notion that how many million? 1 billion or how about 1 trillion bits per second are getting processed in your brain. Okay. To me, that number is kind of like how we can tell people the Earth is billions of years old. And it took millions and millions of years to evolve from an amoeba to a flesh robot of sorts. Now, when you describe that chunk of time to a creationist who believes the Earth is a young Earth creationist, who would say the Earth is 6,000 to 7,000 years old, it's a number that's really hard to process, to say billions. We did not evolve to understand numbers in the billions. It doesn't help us. It doesn't help our daily life to understand a billion. It just doesn't. Simple math maybe is a good survival thing to know. How many berries to eat, how many bananas to eat, how much water to carry, but not a billion. What the heck is that? It's such a number you can't even count to it in your lifetime. So that number is like, wow, we've been around that long. It's a long time. We don't realize how short our time is on Earth compared to the grand scheme of things, which is kind of what our brains fool us into thinking, that we're here for a long time. Just like the notion that our universe might be so big it's hard to believe, and then there's a multiverse above that. Big. How small the atom goes, how much it goes to infinity. You can keep splitting atoms till infinity. I don't know. It looks like that. It looks like the numbers that we're dealing with about everything are so much. They're so big. They're massive. We did not evolve to think of these things in these terms, but the reality is that. Now, one of the things that creationists always use to defend we're man made by an intelligent creature is how our eyes evolved. How could this evolve? This masterful little gadget that's able to do what it does. And I saw Richard Dawkins once described the evolution of an eye and how deep it goes. It basically started, like an eye, started off with a life form of sorts that had a dot, a brown dot, let's say. And that dot, because of a mutation, that could have been cancerous, but it wasn't. It ended up helping the creature, it was able to feel the light. So that little thing was able to know where the light sources are. And the ones that could feel the light source did better. And then, eventually, some of these creatures were born with the dot a little recessed. Because it's recessed, the dot, now it knows which direction the light's coming from. It actually can, because of the side walls and the angle of the light, it knows, oh, it's over here. So now it can move over there. Now add a lens, add this, add that, and you have this modern eye after millions and millions of years. Now our brain, it would seem, is even more complex than this. This eye that the creationists go, how could that evolve? Well, it did. And they can show you how. It's not a mystery. Same with the brain. The brain does way more than you can imagine. The subconscious is doing way more than you can imagine. And so much that it's shocking. And it also knows what it's going to do before it does it and makes it look like it doesn't. That's pretty elaborate. That means this machine that we're dealing with as our engine that runs our show is sending us weird delusions that at one time were probably helpful. Now we have a different way of living and working and values, and some of those traits butt heads with what's new. And I really wanted to like chew on the notion of what it means that this thing's that complex. It is a computer like you can't imagine, and it runs on chemicals. Blows my mind. Now, as for the subconscious running the show, that made me think of how important symbols and metaphor and the notion that we can condition ourselves to start to do things. That means we can game our machine. We can game it. We can. I do it daily. If you want to feel a certain way, you can surround yourself with certain imagery that triggers these feelings. And through symbolism, metaphor, ritual, you can condition yourself to feel and go a certain direction. It might take a while. This reminds me completely of when Seneca, the philosopher, the Stoic, they would talk about changing your habits and what it means. And from what I've learned, the only way to change a habit you don't like in yourself is you need to change your belief system. Now, I don't mean like, oh, you got to find a new God, you got to go find a new religion. It means you have a certain way of viewing yourself and your life and your world that's based in something you believe in. If somebody believes in something, you cannot make them believe in something else like that. It doesn't work. For me, the best analogy is I get somebody and go, you have to believe Santa Claus is real. And they're like, I don't. And they go, you have to, or I'm going to kill you. What? Believe in Santa Claus. Okay, I believe in Santa Claus. He's real. No, it doesn't work like that. You can't just believe. Through repetitive stuff, eventually you can get them to believe that. But when I say change your beliefs to fix the problem, here's a more practical way to look at it. If somebody likes to drink, and they don't like drink, they want to stop drinking because it's getting in the way. Steven, what's up? They usually have a romantic idea of what it is to be drinking. That's a good one, William. I'll read that in a second. So, for instance, if you like drinking gin or whiskey in a glass and a cigarette, you're just like in a bar and just the vibe and the feeling and the drink, and your whole life have admired that vibe. You don't look down on it. You admire it. You think it's cool. You think it's sexy. You think it's a nostalgic feeling, right? How are you going to quit drinking if you have a physical habit and a mental habit if you believe it to be a good virtue, to be that character? You can't. You have to change your belief on that character. William says, change the definitions of what is good and bad so your actions and behaviors follow accordingly. Yeah, you can literally tweak some ideas and start going with it, and you'll see it does start to take hold. I've been doing it my whole life. Any bad habit I've ever had that I want to fix, I really try to make an effort to fix it. The first thing is acknowledging, talking about it, saying it out loud. If you do something you don't like, say, I have a habit I don't like. I want to get rid of it. Right there, you're already starting the job. Write it down. And when I say symbolism, metaphor, and ritual, which is something I talk about a lot, I really do mean symbolism, meaning symbols have different meanings to different people and different cultures. They're not universal. Some might be a little universal, but if you're a world traveler and you've been to other countries, especially like Asia, you will see the symbolism is very different. Ooh, Atomic Habits. I'm writing that one down. Atomic Habits by James Clear. I like it. James Clear. Wonder if he's clear meaning Scientology. I'm clear. Yeah, that's all right. I'll look at it. I'm always fascinated on how to change habits. Like When I meet people that want to change something or do something, I'm like, well, you got to write it down first. What do you mean? I'm like, no, take a pencil out and write, I want to change this. I had a voice teacher in college. He had a really big, his name was Bob Parks. Hello. He's an old guy with a deep voice. He always said, if you have a bad habit, like smoking or something, he's like, just say, I don't need you anymore. But he'd be like, say it with some gusto. I don't need you anymore. Keep saying it and you won't need it. He'd also say, if you want to smoke a cigarette, go outside like you're going to smoke a cigarette and breathe. Like, do what you used to do. Yeah. Nest habits. Yeah. Yes. So, yeah, right. Yeah, replacing the habit with the good habit. Like if you're used to waking up and smoking, go out and do about 20 breathing exercises. Eventually it starts to kick in. I started writing things down like notes, constant reminders, physical symbols, trigger mindsets. Yes. All of that's good. I used to always make my bed. And then for years, sometimes I would make it, sometimes I didn't make it. And oh yes, I'll talk about that now. Cigar smoking. Dan P. I'm gonna talk about that one. I'm gonna write that down right now because I like cigars and I can't have them anymore. Damn it. What was I gonna say? I had some other idea I was on and I forgot it. My brain does that when I read. So I was talking about writing things. Oh, so I started making my bed every day no matter what. Just even if I'm not in a good mood or I'm in a rush. If I'm in a rush to get out the door and go do a show, I'll get up 2 minutes early to do it if I have to. There's no rush. I always have enough time to make the bed. It only takes a minute. I started really making that like, nope, you just got to do it. And symbolically, it's starting my day. Literally, the first thing is I wake up, turn my phone on, make sure the world's not ended or there's nothing I got to call immediate, like emergency. As soon as I see that, I'm usually awake and I'm thinking about making the bed. I'm like, all right, what do I got to do today? Well, you're going to make the bed first thing. And then I start my day. And I got to say, it works. It does something to you. It changes a lot. I have to thank Victoria Santa Cruz for that one. She was the college professor I'm always talking about. I did a show on her, Victoria, if you look it up, and I probably will do another show on her. I'm going to bring in other people that had her too, because we could do a whole podcast on just her teachings. So I like, okay, my history with tobacco is this. I'm going to do my tobacco history. I started chewing tobacco when I was about 12. I grew up in Pennsylvania. It was a thing, right? I quickly started smoking, and then I discovered pipe tobacco, cigars, and snuff, the kind you snort. I found a really good tobacco store, and I made friends with the guys in high school. And I eventually was the guy that would chew tobacco, smoke cigarettes, and do snorting snuff all day, all the time. I was a nicotine fiend. I eventually got older, moved to New York, quit smoking cigarettes, and said, I'm going to stick to pipe tobacco and cigars, which is the more superior tobacco. I like pipes. I like high-end pipes and pipe tobacco. And one day I'm going to show you my pipe collection. I don't smoke pipes anymore. And I like fine cigars. Triple Maduro Camacho, my favorite. The black ones. Oh, interesting. Yes, it does set the tone. So I was smoking a lot. Physical habit, yes. Mental habit, yes. I wake up and I either had a pipe or a cigar in my mouth. I would even, not kidding, you can ask my friends, I would sit on the beach, I'd get up early. I would buy the hand rolls because they were a little cheaper. They were the cigars I liked were 20 to 30 each. That's a big bad habit. I started buying the hand rolls. The guys that do them in the stores, they're okay. They're about $2 each. So I would smoke 4 or 5 of these $2 cigarettes a day. I would wake up, go to the beach, smoke one. When it would get about halfway down, I would then get on my surfboard and paddle out and finish it in the water. If a wave would come, I'd leave the cigar, and if it would get wet, it would be done. Snuff, love it. Now, here's my problem with tobacco. I really considered working on moderating it. There's 2 problems. A, I have an addictive personality. I'll be straight up. I am that guy. That's why I don't drink booze. It's too physically addicting. Yes, Triple Maduro Camacho is my fave. And so, nicotine as an actual drug is one of the most addictive substances on earth. And it's just an addicting thing. People don't realize this, Steven, that chewing tobacco has more nicotine than cigarettes. Way more. A pack of cigarettes, 14 packs a week, is 2 cans of Copenhagen of nicotine. And I was chewing a can a day of Cope, fine cut. And I had to start doing it up here on the upper lip because, I mean, my gums got messed up. I'm going to be honest. I had damage. It's not good for you. Quitting chewing tobacco is very hard because of the nicotine content. So I thought about, God, I'd love to have a cigar once in a while. But the problem is the actual chemical is crazy addicting. It like changes your cells like heroin. It's like really powerful. So the only way I would smoke again, if I make it to a really old age, if I get a terminal illness. And I always said if I could have one vice and do it without any problems, it might be chewing tobacco. I love it. The really nasty stuff that burns. Oh, I miss it. So it's terrible for you. It's highly addictive and really hard to quit. It's a little easier to switch over. So how did I quit smoking? I'll give you my little treatise on this. Here's how I stopped. Yeah, nicotine's a big one. I decided I need to quit smoking. So I allowed myself nicotine chewing gum as much as I wanted forever. I literally told myself, you know what? You can chew this forever. It's better than smoking. Just chew the gum. So I started buying the gum. I would buy it on discount because it's not cheap. And I would chew it all day. After about a year and a half to 2 years of just chewing nicotine gum nonstop, I got sick of it and switched to gum. It was a lot easier to switch to gum from nicotine gum than it is to go from cigarettes to nothing. That feeling of smoking cigarettes is hard to replace. So chewing gum, yes, it was easier to replace. And it worked. I actually stopped chewing, or I haven't had a cigarette or nicotine in 7 years, 8 years. The last time I smoked, this is a funny story. It was New Year's Eve at Debbie Harry's publicist's house, Linda. I don't know if you're ever watching, Linda. What's up? And I was on the fire escape smoking with the actress Parker Posey and Debbie Harry. I swear to God. And I told them, I was like, dude, this is it. I've got a couple of these cigars left. I'm smoking and that's it. And yeah, I smoked and I haven't had one since. Maybe one day. Yeah, chewing tobacco is one of the most satisfying feelings. That burn, the can. It's gross. I know it's nasty, but it's just the flavor. It's like the most powerful flavor on earth, especially Copenhagen. I didn't like the fruity stuff. Now, a good bag of Redman or Levi Garrett, a nice lipper, love it. I grew up chewing tobacco. It was Pennsylvania. Everybody did. I mean, it was just in school. You could sneak it in school. I'd put a little dip in and spit in the back of my shoe. I mean, we were gross. And then I discovered the snorting kind of tobacco. All day at school. Airplanes, loved it. I'm surprised that stuff's not more popular. Snuff. Kodiak, a lot of nicotine in Kodiak. I know Kodiak. Strong. Wintergreen, powerful. I don't remember. I've never seen any of the Ramones smoke. Not one. Joey, no. Dee Dee, no. Dee Dee smoked a lot of marijuana. Lots. In his later days, too. I saw him smoke pot like a fiend on tour. I've never seen Marky with a cigarette. Tommy, never seen pictures of him. I've never really hung out with Tommy Ramone. Redman? Oh, God, now we're going to do... Maybe I should do a show on chewing tobacco. Yeah, I really like dipping, as it's called in certain areas. Yep. I miss it. It's funny, the different forms of tobacco. You know, you've got literally chewing on it, lighting it on fire, or snorting it up your nose. It wakes me up. It relaxes me when I drink. I'm on the... Yeah. I really think, Lilith, that cigarettes get tied to these things. They becomes part of this, part of that. My favorite is tobacco and coffee. Sweet coffee with a little milk and a really powerful cigar, to me, is the best. I don't drinks, but I've heard cognacs go well with cigars. Yeah, it's a thing. You know, now marijuana's back to being a thing. Well, it never was a thing. I mean, in the 60s, it was a thing with certain subcultures. Now it's mainstream. And now people realize marijuana is not nicotine. No way. It is not addicting. It doesn't make you want to have it all day. Me, when I smoked cigarettes, I really liked waking up in the morning and having a cigarette. I really liked waking up in the morning and having a cigar with my coffee, or my pipe tobacco for that matter. So, yeah. God, I'm drooling talking about... Yeah, no, yeah, Cassandra M. Imagine injecting nicotine. Well, I think nicotine in the future might become a drug that's like illegal or underground. Because it's so addicting and powerful. They're trying to phase it out. They're promoting marijuana as, hey, smoke this instead. I mean, if you walk down the street now here in New York City, you smell marijuana. I mean, that's it. The cat's out of the bag. Where I do magic, people openly sometimes smoke in the outdoor areas. I mean, that's the reality. Is it as safe as tobacco? I don't know if it's safe, but people generally smoke less of marijuana, and it is not as addicting. No way. It does not make you go through convulsions when you miss your cigarette. Nicotine does that. I know, I'm going to have a chewing tobacco relapse. I remember, anytime I relapsed on chewing tobacco, it was awesome. There's that old saying, I'm an expert at quitting smoking. I've done it a million times. Yeah, I'm sure in deep Brooklyn, Peter, it's a pot fest now. Oh, great. Let it out. Who cares? I'm over it all. Let people party. I mean, really, that's the end. We living in a world now that's changed in many ways, for good and bad. And, yeah, you got to roll with the punches. Those who don't like change suffer. Who said that? Somebody said that. I don't know who said that. It's a good saying. Yeah, we got to adapt and move with the punches. And if you pay attention, you can position yourself. That's what I always tell my friends and family. Pot smoking now reminds me of the 70s. Yeah. So Lilith, in the 70s though, did people smoke it in public? I don't think so. Did they? I know. Yeah. In the 70s, you can go to jail for it. You can go to jail for it a couple months ago in a lot of places and in certain areas still. Oh my God. I remember I didn't have chewing tobacco for about 7 years. And I put a lipper of Copenhagen in, and I noticed I called it a lipper. And I remember it was like I was on the floor spinning. I hadn't had it in a while. I was like, wow, powerful drug. I saw a picture of natives I think it was in Australia. They were like Aboriginal guys. And they had so much tobacco in their mouths. It was like their whole mouth was full of tobacco. We're only triggered by what we allow. Yeah. Accountability. Yeah, well, that's it. Addiction. Well, one thing about addiction that's interesting, that the reason why it's hard for some, is it's a flaw in the lizard brain stuff. In the early lizard brain and the early mammal brain is a little bit of a flaw. And as Ace Frehley said, and this is a great one. Lilith, hell yes, in the movies, on the subway, in public restrooms, in my high school. In school. I remember it in school too. It was rare though, because you would get in big trouble. But I remember in the bathrooms being like, oh shit, someone's smoking. I love it. You have skull tattooed in your inner lip. I love that. That is amazing, dude. Wow. I have vomit tattooed in my inner lip. You're not going to be able to see this. Yeah. It's kind of faded a bit. Your generation invented the question, are you high? How about Steve Martin? Are you small? No, man, I'm tall. You look small. No, I'm tall. I'm tall. I love it. God, we've been talking so much about chewing tobacco. I'm drooling. Well, when you chew tobacco, you're also spitting all the time. And yes, I used to do the 2-liter cutoff. I've knocked over many spittoons. I've had friends and some exes pick up a can of you-know-what, and I've had it happen. If you chew tobacco, that happens. It's a nasty habit. Yeah, we got to stop talking about it. One more thing about chewing tobacco before we leave the subject. Does anybody remember the commercials on television? Some chewing tobaccos lean to the harsh side. Some chewing tobaccos lean to the sweet side. But Levi Garrett's right. And I think it was a Levi Garrett commercial. And then, I'm a beach nut. I should find them. Now, I did try to switch over to the Swedish version of tobacco. And it didn't have the kick. It was not as, snus was kind of wimpy compared to, what do you chew, Dan? Skull? Long cut? Fine cut? I'm curious now. I like Cope fine cut. And I had, when it's, I like the up here, not down. I like top. Yep, pipe tobacco is my game. So out of all the tobaccos, the one that I actually know the most about is pipe tobacco and pipes. I got good enough that I could smell pipe tobacco, look at it, and taste it, and I knew what it was. Lancaster. So, Steven, right now, my Godzilla toy that I had on my Godzilla episode, if you watch it, the tail to the Shogun Warriors Godzilla, if you pop it off, there's a rolled up old bag of Lancaster chewing tobacco. I used to hide it in that tail. And when I was a kid, I liked Lancaster. It's like candy. It's so sweet. Oh my gosh. My impressions? Thank you. Yeah, I mean, there was just ads for cigarettes and chewing tobacco everywhere. It's amazing. It's changed. We don't look at tobacco the same. Tobacco has literally become underground contraband. I mean, Eric Gardner was selling loose cigarettes on the street when the cops jumped on him and killed him, He was selling cigarettes, and it's not legal. Long cut wintergreen. I like it. I would love that right now. Your neighbor's a woman who has a cheek full of Copenhagen. I love it. Cope is pretty harsh. And so one of the things that I didn't like about chewing tobacco, which made me quit, and I'm still talking about it, is when I realized the game the cigarette companies play and all tobacco companies. So, and it's kind of nefarious. Why on the can of your tobacco doesn't it say how much nicotine's in there? It doesn't. They don't want you to know because they play a game with numbers. So look up the nicotine content of Camel Lights as opposed to Camel Filters. Some of them, they'll lower the tar, but jack the nicotine. With chewing tobacco, they have gateway brands, and then they have the lifelong brands. So the gateway brands are the sweet ones. The lifer brands are the ones that have crazy amounts of nicotine. So they get you hooked, and then they start jacking it. They have a technique. It's nefarious. I wish they would have to put on the packaging what your drug is. Right? Wouldn't that make sense? I would love to know how much caffeine is in each can of soda. Or my Starbucks. You know, if people knew there was 250 milligrams of caffeine in a Starbucks, they might not drink as much, which is why they don't want you to know. Same with a Coke. A Coke is only 35. Mountain Dew's like a 40. It's not much more. Red Bull's 75. Starbucks is like 250. So, Virginia Slims, you've come a long way, baby. And lung cancer for you too. Well, here's something funny, Lilith, that you might know about. When they started doing their, like, we're going to start putting on cigarettes, they're bad for you. When they did their test market research, they found out that if they put on the pack, cigarettes kill you, people buy more. It doesn't bother them. So, like, yeah, put it on. I don't know about the fiberglass thing. They say that because it burns, but I don't think that's true. Yes. Well, in Canada, they have to put on the packaging the nicotine content, and they put a nasty picture of someone dying. I've seen it. It's like, whoa. I don't know if that's a deterrent. It might not be. It might actually make people buy more. It's very weird, right? Death and sex sell. It's memento mori. When you don't want it, it still works. It's like a curiosity of sorts. It's very weird. Well, it is Wednesday. It has been a very warm day. I woke up to some malarkey that I had to deal with, and then I surfed all day. So I'm a little tired today. I feel physically like drained. My eyes feel a little heavy. The law of the forbidden. That's exactly what that is. Everybody, look up Law of the Forbidden, Anton LaVey, and you'll find some information on that. True. Things that are forbidden become much more attractive. That's a fact. What do you mean I can't have that? That's my problem with online banning people. They banned Trump and Alex Jones. They're banned from all platforms. Are they goons? Yeah. But there's a but to that. But by banning them, you're almost empowering their message in a weird way. And I don't like that. To me, free speech is about being able to hear the malarkey, and I hate that word malarkey. Why am I using it? Trying to, they're trying to remove these people because they think they're causing problems. But at the same time, by doing that, you're making people like me go, wait, what are you hiding from that? Like, why? I mean, if they're dumb, you let the dummy just say is dumb. Like, here it is, folks. But when you go, you're dumb and no one's allowed to hear you, I don't like that. I think it triggers other people to form ranks. So, yeah, the law of the forbidden is real. Wow. All right, Twitch streaming. Yes, I will eventually move it to Twitch and YouTube. It's a logistics thing in here. I will do it. It's happening. It is Wednesday. I'm going to actually, I spent the day at the beach. Take a guess where I'm going to go spend my evening. The beach. It's like 80 out right now. And, yeah, I'm going to celebrate Wednesday, and I'll be back here on Friday with episode 67. And I'm working on the subject now. I want everybody here to think about the notion that 95% of your brain is running on the subconscious. And that is an amazing fact that I think we have to acknowledge and move it in. Booty Muncha, thank you. I love the name. That's funny. I love names on here. If you're new and you're watching the channel, hit that silly like, hit that silly subscribe. I really am trying to get to 1,000. It is not easy. I'm going to hopefully hit 800 next week. It's moving about that quick. And if I hit 800, that's great. Only 200 more, and I am going to be in that next bracket. In the meantime, keep watching the show. Keep coming back. I try to make this content thought-provoking, and I think it's working. And there's prizes going out. I'm going to do another giveaway on Friday. There's also, if you have 700 points, go redeem them. I will send you a box of fun stuff. It's the mystery box. If you spend 1,000 points, I will send you one of the posters. I have a lot of different posters. I'm not going to say which one. It's a surprise. It might be a Magic poster. It might be an event I did, but it will be a unique poster that I would sell at a show. So in the meantime, enjoy. Life's short. Wednesday's here. The weekend will be here. And we did a lot of chewing tobacco, which is hilarious. We talked about chewing tobacco. Dude, we go from psychology to theology to philosophy to dipping, chewing tobacco. I love this show. I love my crew here. I love my crowd. I thank you for all the support. And keep coming back. I got stuff to say, and it's fun. I am Cardone. This was episode 66. I'll leave it on for a bit when I play my outro so you can check your points. And if you're new to the channel, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the notify, and look in the description for the rules to the in-chat gaming. I'm Cardone. Party on, Wayne.